Welcome to lecture once again, guys. Now in this lecture, I'll be talking about that we have three major cloud provider: AWS, Azure, and GCP. Now let's suppose if I'm trying to build a big data ecosystem. So where I have to store a data, I have to ingest the data first of all, then store the data, then I have to process the data. Data can be available in a form of real time, near real time, or maybe a batch, right? So which ecosystem is going to fit for my use case? So without any kind of a biasing, we'll try to do a neat and clean discussion, and we'll try to do a comparison between AWS, Azure, and GCP. So let me share my screen. I have already prepared a beautiful documentation for all of you, which you can try to refer even in future for a revision purposes. So now Azure versus AWS versus GCP. Which one is good? Again, none of them are good and none of them are bad. That's my first statement, and keep that in mind, by the way. Yeah, so it depends upon our users. It depends upon the tie-up with a company. If I'm trying to use AWS services, obviously I will be inclined more towards AWS. If I'm using Azure, I will be more inclined towards Azure or maybe a GCP. And as a developer, as a big data engineer, obviously I have to adopt that. Very simple, right? If you're a stakeholder, then maybe you can try to go through this entire things, and then you can make a decision if you're making a decision for the very first time. So here on a high level, if I'll talk about AWS, so I have already mentioned in a bold that AWS provides you a breadth and a maturity. They have 50 plus services just built for a big data. They have 270, I believe, plus services inside the Azure ecosystem, and 50 plus just for handling a data side, or you can say a big data. If I'll talk about Azure, so Azure offers a complete end-to-end ecosystem for any kind of analytical processing or any kind of a big data processing. And if I'll talk about a GCP, so it focuses more on a serverless side or maybe a managed analytics at a scale side. So this is like a very first level of comparison. But this is not it. I have done a comparison even on a different scale. For example, like a storage or maybe batch processing, real-time processing, everything. So if I'll talk about a storage, right? If I'll talk about a storage or maybe a data lake creation, because data lake is a theoretical phenomenon, theoretical concept, right? So in case of Azure, we have ADLS, Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2, which is nothing but built on top of a blob storage, which is like coming from a legacy of Azure. Same thing, if I look into AWS, so we have a simple storage services, S3, right? So where I will be like, able to store the data. And this behaves like a central data lake, basically. So whatever you have, you can try to store it inside S3 and then do whatever you want. And if I'll talk about a GCP, so GCP provides you an object storage. Simple. So storage wise, we have this option in all three: Azure, AWS, GCP. Simple. Now, let's suppose if I'm trying to perform a batch data processing, right? So in case of Azure, we have a Azure Synapse services, right? Which is going to help me out in terms of doing a warehousing, in terms of doing a big data processing. In case of Amazon, so we have Amazon Redshift, and above all, we have EMR. EMR is going to help you out in terms of creating a cluster and configuring a services of your choice on top of HDFS layer. Simple, right? Elastic MapReduce. So we have something in AWS as well. So Amazon Redshift or maybe EMR, I can try to use it. If I'll talk about GCP, so in case of GCP, we have a BigQuery table, right? We can try to use maybe this one, and in a serverless manner, in a managed manner, I will be able to do analytics on top of my data. Now, if I'll talk about a streaming, right? In case of Azure, we have a Azure stream analytics one. We have an event hub, or we can try to do even a Databricks structured streaming. So we can try to use this one. Now, if I'll talk about equivalent services in Amazon, so in that AWS, so we have a AWS Kinesis. We have basically a EMR, which is like a cluster itself, and I can do whatever I want, batch, real time, near real time, as per my need. If I'll talk about maybe like a GCP, so we have a cloud data flow for streaming plus batch plus pub sub manner of a data processing, publish subscribe manner of the data processing. Now, if I'll talk about serverless analytics, where GCP is strong, by the way, right? Because GCP is known for that. But yeah, it's not like Azure and AWS is not providing you a serverless. So Azure offers serverless managed component like Azure Synapse serverless SQL, right? Where you can try to do some sort of orchestration. AWS offers managed services, but often still requires a cluster configuration setup. Yeah. So you have to set up maybe a EMR cluster and then you can do it. And the GCP, the strongest one in case of a serverless managed analytics, right? So we have a BigQuery table, which is going to take a load of everything. Now, if I'll talk about AI ML stuff in these three platforms, so obviously all this three platform is going to provide you that. So in case of Azure, so we have ML, AI, even BI like a capabilities, right? A Power BI. So we can do everything. If I'll talk about AWS ecosystem, yes, we do have that. If I'll talk about a GCP ecosystem, yes, we do have that. Yeah. So here. Now, if I'll talk about enterprise readiness for governance, security. So all these three cloud platforms are, so all these three platforms are technical. Okay, so all these three platforms are, as I said, is a global platform, right? So obviously, if I'll talk about a governance, security, everyone is going to provide it on premises. So basically here, Azure is going to provide you, even AWS is going to provide you, right? And even GCP is going to provide you. Simple. Now, cost and pricing wise, so it's a competitive pricing that they are providing you. So you need to evaluate based on the use cases, and some of the services allow you pay as you go. A very mature pricing model in case of AWS, the entire world is using it, and AWS is one of the most used cloud services in the entire world. As we all know, it is having like a highest market share. So here it is going to give you a mature pricing. So, and if I'll talk about a GCP, so in case of a serverless use cases, if you have, so in that case, go with GCP, they are going to provide you a better pricing. And getting started and ease of use wise, so easier for organization already in a Microsoft ecosystem. So if your organization is already using it, then go ahead, use it, right? Now, broadest set of services means more choice, which can increase the complexity. So again, you will be confused sometime that I should use which one, this one or that one, because they have like a lot of services over there. In case of GCP, simpler architecture for analytics, first use case, less messy infrastructure overhead analytics. So yeah, ease of use wise, number goes to, or vote goes to GCP, by the way. Yeah. So this is a comparison, and based on this comparison table, I think you should take a call basically that which one I am supposed to use and which one I should not. But all three are equally good, I would say. And I believe if you are just getting started with a big data kind of a ecosystem, then you can try to choose any of these three. It's going to work for you. Or maybe just a Databricks, separate Databricks without any kind of a cloud integration in a serverless mode. You can try to use it just to start with, just for the learning purposes maybe. Or maybe building a small MVPs or maybe a POCs, that is going to work. When to choose which one? So let's suppose if your organization is already into, because that is a factor which matters most. Everyone is going to give you a solution. So it's not like one is good, one is bad. In one, you will be able to do something, and in other one, you will not be able to do something. No, that's not a case over here. Everyone is a mature enough. Everyone is having a market share. Everyone is having services. They have built it inside their platforms. So depends upon the tie-up, depends upon the ecosystem that we are using. So if my company is already using a Microsoft ecosystem, their first choice will be always an Azure, right? Their first choice will be always an Azure. When I'm looking for a lot of feature, my first choice will be AWS. And when I'm looking for a serverless kind of analytics, then my first choice will be a GCP. But again, tie-up is a very first part which matters the most. If I have a business tie-up, simple, I will go with that particular cloud services. This is what and how it happens. And this is how we take a decision on an enterprise level, by the way. So hope this comparison is going to help you out in terms of choosing Azure versus AWS versus GCP. With that, thank you so much, everyone. Take care. See you again in my upcoming lecture.